Welcome to CJ's Chat Box. Today I have as a special guest Jordan Rosenthal. He is with SCORE, and we're going to tell you a little bit about SCORE today. So welcome, Jordan.
Thank you. Good to be here with you.
Yes. First of all, as I normally do with my guests, I like to find out a little bit about them before we talk about SCORE. And you are from, I think, the Midwest somewhere. Was it in Detroit or?
From Pontiac, Michigan.
Oh, Pontiac, sorry.
That's all right.
Anyway, yeah, because you have, I think, an interesting background as well in what you did. And your father, you kind of like learned from your father, if I remember.
Yeah, absolutely. I come from a retail family.
There you go.
And
yeah.
My dad had a women's specialty store.
Oh, okay.
In Pontiac. So I was exposed to the world of clothing at an early age. Mm-hmm. Did some modeling for the children's department back then. And my father, instilled a love of retail and a love of the clothing world. Oh. So I figured that would be the route that I would take. And studied clothing and textiles in college and business as well, and decided I would go the department store route, and got some great training from a Midwestern department store, and then came out to Southern California and worked with Bullock's for a number of years.
Yes. When we were telling about some of these places where you had worked, it just brought back all the old Bullock's, Wilshire, and Buffum's, and some of these department stores. And even, we don't have those type of department stores anymore. They were really luxurious to go shopping there. And the other thing that hit me, because you said you went to different departments and so that you worked, and the thing that I love when you said that you learned to love retail, that doesn't even sound like it goes together sometimes because people don't understand that. But for you and you did so many different, whether you were in children's wear or you were in, men's wear, wherever you worked, you had and that background working with your dad or being around that was surely to your advantage. But you moved up into management fairly quickly, did you not?
Yeah, and cosmetics was certainly one of the areas that in particular interested me. And because cosmetics in the world of department stores is a highly profitable department.
Yeah, that was the other thing because I told you that I love makeup, and I used to do makeup here on TV6, but also I used to do the spritzing, testing new perfumes in the department stores. And so, but you told me, because normally when you go into one of the big department stores, the cosmetic counter was always in the front. And you said there was a reason for that.
Yeah, cosmetics is the most profitable part of any department store. Because the cosmetic brand pays for so many different things, whether it be the installation of the department itself, pay for the salaries, pay for the benefits. So cosmetics is always the top profit maker, and that's why cosmetics is generally the very first thing that you see when you walk into Macy's, for instance, as an example.
Yes, definitely. I remember, and also I think, which we can't really go into today, but it's so interesting to me about the intricacies of being a manager, say, of the cosmetic department, but then each line, whether it's Charles of the Ritz or Alexander DeMarkov or whoever, and how that is broken down and that they pay their employees or sometimes no. That was to me so intricate that if you were going into a business like that, and that's kind of what we're talking about today is how people can help other people go into business, that to understand all that, because nobody thinks about that, and that's how. So you were good at the accounting and managing and making sure that everybody was making their quota and whatever, otherwise, you end up paying out and you haven't taken any in, isn't that right?
Exactly. And cosmetics is such an interesting world, both for women and men. And cosmetics was the trendsetter at that time.
Oh, okay.
And, cosmetics nowadays is all done online. But still, some of the prestige brands can be found in Macy's and Saks and Neiman Marcus. But the industry has really changed dramatically.
Online sounds nice because it's quick and it's easy and everything and convenience, what have you. But I do remember, and this was part of my experience as well, is where I learned and I did makeup. I made up in department stores. I would work for different lines. And the idea that a lady could come and get a makeover sitting there, and they were free. I wasn't selling in any of the, I wasn't getting a percentage of whatever line I was working with. I got just paid hourly. But that kind of, you would always go into a department store, add the makeup, there would always be women sitting there getting their face done with a new shade of makeup or eyeshadow or whatever. And that part I really miss now, and I think if women would admit to it, they probably miss it as well, because they do get a new look. Somebody that's there is an artist, they're making up and they're using their talent. So that...
And it's interesting. A lot of studies have been done about the world of makeup. And what they found is during tough economic times, women will forego buying a new dress, but they will not forego buying a new lipstick, because it's a great way to brighten one's view of life. And lipsticks are, most women have at least 4 or 5 in their drawer.
At least. I would say I have a few more than that. But whenever I would break up with a boyfriend, and it's like a teenager, my mother would say, "You need a new eyelash curler." That was what she thought would solve my heartache.
That's great.
So maybe it was a new lipstick that I really needed. Anyway, before we get too gone there, one of the reasons I wanted to talk to you about SCORE was one of my guests, Jim Quigley, had talked about, was I aware of SCORE? And I had heard about it, but I didn't know much about it. So I researched and got a hold of you, because we'll talk about what it is, but for me, it just, where we live here in the village, there's so many people. Most of them are retired, but there are still some that are still working, and this still would go for them. But sometimes people think that they're retired, their days are long, they don't feel like they're giving anything back, they don't have a purpose, whatever. And I remember George Burns saying that he lived to be 99 plus, because he said, I have to have a reason to get out of bed in the morning. And so some people need to have that to even go on. So I wanted to find out more about that, so that the people here, the seniors, the retired as well as those that are still working, will have a way to help mentor people in so many different walks of life. And those that are still working, of course, they could still be a mentor. And it's a nice way of sharing your experience and your expertise to the next generation. So that is what I want to talk to you about today, and kind of the history of it. I think you said it really began back in '64, with the small business, or?
Correct. And I'm so glad that you reached out to me, because SCORE, which stands for Service Corps of Retired Executives, was started in 1964 out of the Small Business Administration, which was doing a lot of loans and helping small business find money to grow their business. And they figured, in order to make sure that the government got paid back for the money that they were facilitating, that they needed coaches or mentors that could help the small business. So that's how SCORE got started. SCORE is a part of the SBA. We collaborate with the SBA. And Constance, to really put it into perspective, SCORE is around because of taxpayers. The taxpayers have basically paid for what SCORE does. And SCORE provides free services. Sometimes it's hard for people to think that we don't have an angle in the mentoring that we do. But we, as mentors, have to sign a pledge each year, which says that we won't be compensated for anything that we do in terms of helping small business. So SCORE, which is a national organization, we've got about 10,000 mentors all around the United States. And our focus is primarily mentoring.
Okay.
So mentoring is really what we do best. Mentoring is what is a part of our commitment to the business community.
Okay. What I also like when you talked about the mentorship is that people that are interested in becoming a mentor, that it isn't like, okay, I'll just do it. That there's a procedure you go through, and it's almost like a vetting, if you will, because they send in a resume so that they know what you've done in the past, your experience, and then there's training involved.
Right.
That again, some people think, well, I don't need to be trained. I know what to tell them. No, that's not how you operate.
Yeah. Part of what I do for the chapter is I'm in charge of onboarding. So what I do is I help vet all the people that want to become mentors. And believe it or not, one of the first things that required is to have a resume. So some people who are retired say to themselves, do I really need a resume? Well, yes, you do. You do have to have a resume. And once somebody has been interviewed, we have 2 people that interview each potential applicant. And then that provisional, as we call them, has to go through 7 different online modules, learning about our ethics, learning about our methodology for mentoring, and learning about how our system works. And once that happens, that person is required to co-mentor with other mentors so that they get a sense of what it's like to mentor a client. And then we have a very specific contact resource management software so that everything can be documented and everything is very detailed because we're accountable to the SBA in terms of the number of mentors that we have, the number of clients that we work with. And the beauty of SCORE is it's not only the mentoring, but it's the online resources that SCORE provides. An extensive library of topics covering everything from starting a business plan, to how to sell a business. And probably one of the topics that is in most demand is social media. How to use social media for your business. And one of the real new interesting topics is artificial intelligence.
Oh my.
And as a small business, how to use AI to your benefit. To give you an example, I'm working with a client who has some great ideas, but her ability to write her ideas and put it into a business plan or to put her ideas onto her website is difficult. So using Chat GPT has been a huge breakthrough from her, so that ultimately Chat GPT can help her do the writing that she may not feel comfortable in doing.
You know, when you told me about that the other day, I had kind of forgotten about the AI part, but I did tell a friend of mine that is trying to write a story about their family, 50 years of a musical family in South Orange County. So I told him about the AI. I said, because he'd sent me a page or 2, and it was kind of, we did this, and it's really fragmented all over the place. And he said, I'm not a writer. So he didn't know how to put it together. So I told him about AI, and his nephew went on and helped him, and he said, it's awesome. Because he can just put it all out there, and it puts it together. Oh, that's amazing to do that.
And I think there's a lot of stories and articles written about AI. the pluses and minuses.
Yeah.
But certainly in the mentoring that I'm doing, it's helpful.
Yeah.
But it doesn't replace listening. It doesn't replace pulling out from your years of experience
Oh, yes.
how you can help a business.
Right.
And so my specialty is the cosmetics world, but we work with lots of different types of businesses.
Yeah.
And we do a lot to help businesses from start to finish.
Right. I think that, you know, you were saying something earlier about, and you said a couple of words that pop out because you don't hear them very often. First of all, when you said that mentor, you know, take oaths that you don't get compensated for anything you do, and also ethics, that you make sure that they're, you know, that they're ethical and so on. I think you need to be working with more people higher up in our government, actually. Yes. They could take some courses, I think, on all of those things. But yeah, it's so interesting because for some, they have creative ideas, as you said with this gal, but not being able to put them into a doable situation. And if the mentors, you know, if you guys can mentor and help guide that, as well as AI, then that would be such a plus, because you get so frustrated that you lose the passion you had for starting this business. The other thing that you'd mentioned that I thought was just absolutely fabulous, because in part of the training you said, we teach you about what questions to ask, because it's more important to listen, but then the questions you ask are very important, and that if I was a mentor, I would be given questions by the program, by SCORE, to know what kind of questions are appropriate, so it isn't going to either throw water on their idea or something.
Yeah, I mean, the role of a SCORE mentor is not to have an opinion on a business. So if you came to me with a business idea, and in my heart of hearts, I felt that maybe it was not a great idea, my job is not to say, Constance, no, I don't recommend that you do that, because then yes. I would have skin in the game.
Yes.
You know, my job is really to say, have you thought about A, B, C, and D? So say, for instance, you came to me with a mascara idea.
Okay.
And I would say to you, okay, great idea, but what's the competition? The mascara segment of the cosmetic world is about a $1 billion segment of the business. So I would say, have you researched your competition? What do you know about their pricing? What is your unique value proposition? And probably one of the most important things that I find when I mentor new clients is helping them understand what's the value of their product versus somebody else's product. And I, through just my years of experience, I pull out different scenarios. And so I give homework to that particular client.
Yeah.
So part of my job is really to have several follow-up meetings.
Right.
And so that they come back saying, yeah, I did look at my competition. I could see that my ideas may be right or wrong versus the competition. And maybe my idea is not going to necessarily work.
But they come to that on their own.
But they come to that.
Yes.
Yeah. I don't.
Yeah.
I don't tell them.
But to know the right questions, as you said, and give them homework, because everybody thinks it's the brightest idea, and it may be a great idea, but when you look at, by the time you've done all the research and look at what am I offering that's totally different than everyone else, and then you find out I don't have anything different, extra special, that I'm just going to be one like everything else, so you're going to be struggling to make any money whatsoever, and that you find out on your own without being told that is, I think, key as well.
Yeah, and it moves the needle, so to speak, towards self-discovery. You know, and That's really part of it as well too. If you've got a great idea, you have to make sure that you are clear of the pluses and minuses.
Well, and that leads me to not only people say in the village here that were in business, had a very good career, and now they're retired, and they get a bright idea about, I should have done this. Does that happen? I mean, is that something that seniors could, they come up with ideas and start something again? Does that happen often?
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, that'd be fun.
But I think more than anything else, SCORE attracts people that want to give back to the community, and not necessarily to start their own business, but to really give back. And for me, probably one of the greatest things is turning that light on, so to speak, in the client's mind, and pulling my own experience into the conversation and having somebody value it. And I think there's so much senior talent, certainly in this community, of people that probably would like to give back to the business world, and it's tremendously satisfying to be able to do that.
And that's the part that I think there are certain things that I still do, even though I'm retired, that I really do, and I do them because I love them. So there's a lot of joy and a lot of passion involved in that. But I do come up with a lot of ideas. Most of them are harebrained ideas, I will admit that. But there are some ideas where I get the creative idea, the brainstorming and so on, but then you have to fill it in with people that would be able to do this portion of this big idea I have. But that is still an exciting thing to still have when you're retired and a senior and you think, oh, well, I lived a life and now it's over. That's not true at all.
Yes, and if you came to SCORE with your idea, and if you were my client, I would embrace your creativity. Okay. I would embrace your willingness to take a risk with your business concept. I would then help you assess the risks. I'd help you look at the benefits of your product. Again, with no agenda.
Right.
And my agenda would be your own self-discovery, and for you to use all the resources online that SCORE has to grow your idea.
Right. Do you, with the Small Business Association, where it started with the SBA, and they must have seen how much this benefited, giving them, the money to start out a small business, and now having someone there that's going to be walking alongside them, so to speak, that they feel a little more comfortable on whether this is going to be a success. Do they, are they still getting a lot of startups? I know that, with the pandemic, it just, so many young or small companies just got wiped out because they couldn't survive it. So I don't know if, because that's now hopefully in the past, that some of these, again, small businesses will again start up again. I don't know, whatever it is, whether they were a mom and pop coffee shop or a hair salon or whatever it is, that it was so dependent on people being there physically that they couldn't do these things on Zoom. Whether or not you've seen that at all, has that picked up?
We have, Constance. It's interesting, and in particular from the Hispanic community.
Really?
The Hispanic community has, I think, certainly in my mentoring and the work that I do, there's more interest in people from Santa Ana and Anaheim in particular that wanna start a new business, and they're grateful for being in the United States, and they want to be able to
make their dream.
To make their dream.
Yeah. Do they have a certain type of business that they tend to go into, or is it broad?
It's broad, but it's restaurant, it's lawn maintenance, it's things that they can easily start with not a huge amount of capital, but skill sets that that they can share and that they can make a difference
Yes.
with.
To become self-sufficient like that, to start so that they, when they put in these long hours of working, is knowing that it's for their company, maybe for their children, putting their children to work, whether it's in a restaurant or, as you say, with landscaping and so on, that if that's where their skills are, then they should make that a business. And to have someone that guides them that, so they're just not out making a buck every day, that they could actually be forming a business.
Right. And, you know, one of the things that we do in particular for the Hispanic community is to help them understand how to document their business so that they can get business loans.
Okay.
And to help them with the accounting part of it, to help them use QuickBooks, to help them realize that to grow their business, they have to have that structure in place.
Yeah. But somebody that's willing to do that, because, you know, I've worked at companies where we use Quicken. Well, somebody needs to teach you how to use Quicken. It's just not, it's Quicken, so just go do it. You need someone to walk you through that. And you have to do more than once. I mean, I have to have repetition so that if I'm not doing it every day, then it'll stick in my mind. If I do it once a month, I'll have to have somebody guide me through it again.
Right.
So.
And we're focused on all elements of a business to help people get established in these things, to help them work with these different tools. And part of what we do is we mentor in Spanish. So,
well, the other thing that just makes me, how do you get the word out to these communities? Because sometimes they either think they're too proud to ask for help, or they are thinking that nobody would listen or would leave in them enough to help them become that. How do you reach them, or where do they go, and how do you find out about them?
Yeah, great question. We use social media a lot in reaching out to the community. We do specific meetings focused on, for instance, the Hispanic community. We invite people through the offices of economic development, say for the city of Santa Ana or the city of Anaheim. So we're connecting with cities.
Good. You know, it's interesting because I have a cleaning guy that comes and you know, and he's done so well. I mean, this is how he supports himself, him and his wife. But then they've grown, you know, in order to support, they've got to hire more people to go with them to do that. And I don't know that he's ever sat down and thought about it as a business, just that we need more so we get more and then that, but to actually have a business with a name and so on. And I mentioned that to him because to me this is exciting, because it does, people may be doing this already and not realizing that you need to form it into a business where you have more of a shape and a control of it.
Right.
It'll work better for you that way.
Absolutely. And part of what we do is not only work with startups, but we have a whole CEO forum. So if you're a business that has more than $1 million in revenue each year, we have specific programs for more moderate or mature businesses that want to take advantage of our mentoring. So we're not only for startups, but we're with more established companies that have different needs than startups.
Well, and you know, again, my mind is going a mile a minute here because say somebody has a hair salon and they haven't added the pedi manicure to it, or even in the makeup area. Most of the time with the hair salons that I've been in, you get cuts, perms, bleaches, whatever, but you don't have any makeup there being taught how to use makeup. So if some salon owner would like to broaden her business by adding something like that, would that be something, again, that they would go to you and say, here's what I'm thinking and here's why? How do I go about adding that to what I already have? Is that what you would help them with?
So for instance, in the beauty world, let's say you're a spa and you want to add a massage therapist, or you may want to add a body worker, or you may want to add laser equipment.
Okay.
Certainly, that type of business could come to SCORE, and we could really work with them to look at, okay, what are the costs of the equipment that you're looking to bring in? What's the menu of services that you're looking to provide? What are going to be the most profitable menu services, and how are you going to promote it? So, so that's where. So, for instance, my background is partially helping spas, and I found that spa services can be very profitable, but it's not for everybody. And you have to have the right staff, you have to have the right licensure, you have to have the right insurance to cover those types of services.
Well, and again, we're thinking just right local here. Not only, I mean, in the village, that's one thing I would want right away is a place. One of the gyms would have an additional part of it that you could go. They would have certain days that you could have a massage for affordable massage. That everybody here, your body needs to be touched. It has body hunger. You need to have pedis and manis and massages. But also, right across the street, there's Ivy Park, and then down the road, there's Ivy Wellington. They've all gone into this Ivy Oakmont, I think is the branch of it in Irvine that runs all these retirement homes. So again, they do have hairdressers that come in maybe once or twice a week, but again, adding that, or having a business that said, I want to be able to go to retirement communities or assisted living places, because they do need to have haircuts, hair wash, perms, etc., massages, that would be a lucrative business, but they would need a guidance as to what kind of insurance, you're working with a certain type of individual, seniors sometimes forget, so you need to make sure you have insurances. But the fact that once somebody said, here's my idea, how can we make it work? Because I can do this, and I've got girls that can do this and this, how do we promote that to a facility like? And for me, I would think that if they've gone to someone at SCORE and been guided, that would be almost like a certificate of somebody that you can present to someone. I've gone through and been mentored by the best. And so my company is, it's just like Better Business Bureau. They say, well, you've checked all the boxes. That would really help them.
It would, and I think anybody that knows SCORE as an organization knows that our mentoring is not an angle with any angle. We don't, we're not being compensated for what we do. And again, people say, well, how does that happen? Well, the taxpayer through the SBA has made SCORE be viable. And excuse me, if you had a question for me, Constance, that I couldn't answer, I can co-mentor with other members of my chapter.
Correct.
But I can also co-mentor with other chapters around the country.
Right.
So say, for instance, you had a very specific question about, say, trademarks, for instance.
Okay.
And maybe my chapter doesn't have an expert on trademarks. I can then co-mentor with somebody from another part of the country. So if I'm working with you on Zoom, the three of us can meet, and you can benefit from all of the other mentors around the country that are focused on helping small business work and large businesses work.
Well, I do know that, as you said, there's a lot of webinars and so many things from SCORE that are available to anyone and everyone, that they, their little niche where they need a little extra, that they can go and watch it again or so on, that you do supply them with that, which is also so helpful. I just see there's so many possibilities in that. And again, I was thinking, this has taken a whole turn now, because I initially thought about retired people that wanted to have a purpose and so on. But now I'm also thinking about people that we know that, and there may be a lot of them here in the village that are still working, that know people that would love to start a business or a sideline of something. and to know this is a place to go to get some feedback before you invest a lot of money, that if it's not a really good idea and you haven't thought it through, this is, it's a stopgap. It's like, okay, let me research that, and you're right, I shouldn't have done this, but you haven't invested a lot of money or time yet. So you have guidance, and I think that key word is the fact, because your angle, I call it motive, because your motive is to help people. It's not to make some side money or be compensated for your expertise. That is not why you're there. So that to me is what makes it so safe. In the days of so much scamming that people say, oh, I can help you get there. Well, you guys have been around quite a while, and you've proven yourself that.
And we've helped thousands of businesses through profitable times and through times where maybe it's time to sell a business, or maybe it's time to really rethink what that business's particular focus is.
Yeah.
So that's why we're around for the life of business, and that's really part of our focus from the very start to the very end of a business, and everything in between.
Yeah. It's so nice to know that there's someone there that cares, that you can pick up the phone or go on Zoom. I need a Zoom meeting because here's what's happening. And then you can listen, and you can draw out, as you said, let's get to the bottom of what's happening here, see if we can get this rearranged or fixed. That's so nice to know.
And we do a lot of our work on Zoom, but we also do one-on-one mentoring. And Laguna Hills is one of the places where we meet on a regular basis with clients.
Okay.
Either with appointments or with walk-ins.
Okay.
And so we're available in a lot of different ways, and certainly Zoom is the way in which so much of the world works, but still one-on-one is still
one-on-one is always desirable, but having the ability to do it on Zoom quickly, that you can't drive to here or to there, you can do it right on Zoom. That's helpful. Well, I'm going to make sure that we put on and get from you the contact info, whether it's an email address or a website address or a phone number that people that are interested to call you and get in touch. And like you said, if you don't have the answer, you can find somebody within SCORE to help them. But that to me, it'll give people the opportunity to check you out. So we'll put that on the screen during the show here, and hopefully they will be able to give you a call. Also, I think you have a couple of videos that you'd sent me that we might be able to also add into the show so that they could hear some people talk about their experience.
Absolutely.
I am super, 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 super glad that I became a SCORE mentor.
We're all working towards a common goal.
To help small businesses succeed is such a rewarding feeling.
So the great thing about SCORE is you get to share your experience with other business owners and help them grow.
SCORE is an incredible resource for lifelong learning.
Being a small business owner requires a fair bit of confidence in what you're doing. As SCORE mentors, part of what we're doing is trying to get people to be confident enough to go out and do the things that they need to do to run a business.
SCORE mentors are like cheerleaders to their clients, because most of the time SCORE mentors will see what the clients don't see in themselves. We'll see the strengths that you may not even know existed.
I find myself sharing a lot about my journey, and it's always appreciated. It seems like it gives me a greater level of intimacy with those that I'm mentoring, because they know that I've been there.
So we end up being counselors to folks and helping them get over some of the emotional barriers that stand between them and getting done what they need to in their business.
A lot of them may also be startups or even pre-startups who have a great idea, but they don't have a business plan yet.
What I view my role as is having that level of patience and understanding to sort of guide the client to a way where the idea can work, but with certain changes. And those changes come directly from the client. It's just that you point them in the right direction.
Every time I have a conversation with a mentee, I feel like I've learned something.
I've actually had mentoring sessions where I've walked out of the session having learned more than the client, which is very interesting.
I am a lifelong learner, and that's an aspect of SCORE that I really appreciate, is that continued learning. I'm always learning something from either the clients or my fellow mentors or folks in the community.
And the nice thing about being a SCORE mentor is you don't need to be an expert in various areas. In fact, we found the best mentors are generalists in terms of businesses.
For instance, I could be a lead mentor and I facilitate the process. I'm not experienced in the business that they want to get involved in, but I know that there are mentors within our chapter or within our network of mentors that do.
I'm not a lawyer, but if I have a legal question and someone wants some advice in that area, I can find that expertise.
So I had a client that wanted to be a commercial farmer. I was able to find somebody within our chapter that knew about farming.
We had a client in Cleveland come in. They were in search of a mentor who spoke Arabic. And so we were able, through the initiative called One Score, we were able to find several mentors elsewhere in the country who spoke Arabic.
I can go to the SCORE national website and find a subject matter expert in any area by just searching through the roster of SCORE mentees on the national website.
SCORE has so many resources, and they're constantly building on those every day.
Being a part of SCORE has been a lot of fun. I mean, from our monthly meetings where we share great ideas and great accomplishments for our clients.
You know, when I first thought about going to a chapter meeting, I was worried that it would be all hoity-toity and that I would have difficulty getting accepted. But the reality is that the chapter meetings are a lot of fun.
You get to hang out and work together with business owners who are also successful and who think like you and who want to give back like you.
The fun part are the relationships that I've developed with my co-workers.
I have made a lot of friends in SCORE by networking with my colleagues.
Personally, I feel like my circle of friends and acquaintances has doubled or tripled since I've joined SCORE.
But one of the most rewarding things is the friendships that we've developed with each other and working with each other through challenges, not only our own, personally with our own businesses, but our clients as well.
If your goal is to help someone, you come to the right place.
SCORE makes a difference in every community in which there is a chapter.
SCORE offers so many different ways to bring our experience forward.
SCORE is an organization of volunteers that come together to provide expertise and resources to prospective and thriving business owners.
All the work that we do is a way really to give back not only to society but also to our individual communities.
And it's meaningful to me because I get to help people make their dreams of owning a business a reality.
SCORE is the community of over 10,000 volunteers.
Across the country, we have over 200 chapters, and what we do is we provide free and confidential business mentoring for business owners across the country.
So you don't have to be retired to be a SCORE mentor. You can still run your small business and you can still work a 9-to-5 job and still give back to your community.
I'm also a small business owner, and by talking to SCORE clients, I actually learn a lot about my own business in the process.
I feel that with this amount of knowledge that I have, I need to share it. I need to ensure that there are people out there who benefit from it.
There are 4 different ways that a volunteer can serve in SCORE. The first would be as an active mentor to clients.
As a SCORE mentor, you guide, coach, advise, and mentor an entrepreneur?
The second would be as a subject matter expert.
I am a regular SCORE mentor, but my background as a home care agency owner has presented me as a subject matter expert in that area.
For digital marketing, for example, I am considered as a subject matter expert there.
The third would be in an education capacity as a speaker at a SCORE webinar or workshop.
I've taught workshops here in Atlanta and had people in Florida and people in Kansas and people in Massachusetts all online at the same time. The great part about doing that for me is that I learn about my own business by teaching. The more times I teach the financials class, the more times I understand what I should be looking at in my own business on the financial side.
The fourth role would be more of an administrative or behind the scenes role, as we often need volunteers to help run the chapters.
They can also do fundraising. They can also do things like press releases and, being, if you will, a cheerleader for the local organization.
A lot of the skills that I learned as an HR professional, I'm also able to use in the chapter administration itself.
Whether you're an introvert or an extrovert, there's definitely a spot for you.
You also get to not only change an individual's business, but it also really transform their lives and their employees' lives as well.
For me, as an entrepreneur, I never wanted to wait until I am retired to be able to deliver and value to others. I wanted to do it right now.
It's just so rewarding to know that I have made a difference.
So if you're on the fence about being a SCORE mentor, get off the fence and just do it.
Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you for inviting me. It's been a pleasure.
Well, it will be so fun to find out just how many new businesses are starting. I hate to go home because my head will start creating all these things now. But just the idea that a business is already there, but you want to expand it. And so many people like caterers, they went under during pandemic. And, so to start them back up again, and event planners, all the things that just shut down totally, and they were really good at that. Now they need to gear up again,
and I think it's important to remember that small business is still such a critical part of the economy.
Yes.
And more so than ever before, small business is
personal.
Yeah.
You get to meet someone, that's why the mom and pop shops and so on, you really want to support because they know your name, you feel very, comfortable with them. So I do applaud that the small businesses, are still going to be supported and funded and are going to hopefully bring us back.
And the SBA is around to make sure that small business is supported.
Yes.
And the SBA is such a critical resource for small business, whether it be SCORE, whether it be lending from the SBA, whether it be SBDC, which is another leg of the SBA. And we're all here to help small business.
And that's so rare in this day that, what's in it for me? That's normally what they ask.
Right.
And so, you're being so kind and you're helping me out so much. What is it you want from me now? And that's so rare. And it's so beautiful that you want to give back, that you have appreciated how people have helped you along the way in your life. And now you want to be able to do the same. So anyway, again, thank you so much.
Thank you so much for inviting me.
All righty. We'll talk to you soon.
All right. Thanks.
Bye.